like to invite my fellow panelists up, beginning with the first lady that you see after me, Kasia Kwiatkowska. Hi, who is the founder and CEO of Smart People. And their primary area of expertise is in identifying people who possess the necessary skills to carry out projects and procedures efficiently. I love that word, efficiently. It's like my favorite word ever. Next, I will invite Joanna Purdy, who is the CEO of Jet Delivers, where she and her team use an approach that focuses on understanding people, their thoughts, feelings, drivers, and tensions. Next, Professor Captain Francis, the CEO of World Maritime CS, which focuses on maritime consultancy, education, and services. And finally, Samuel Lovis Salanzia, who's the president of PMI Cameroon, Project Management International Cameroon, which leads a group of over 400 members and 2,000 project management enthusiasts in Cameroon. So welcome to all my panelists. And what I will, you know what? Is it all right with my panelists if I stay up here? Oh, Amit! I am so sorry, I did not see your picture up there. I thought, where's Amit? Yes. Thank you, Joanna. I will stay up here, yes. So I will invite Amit, who leads a team of over 100 people internationally for white clay. And I'll just hang out here. So we are going to be talking about leadership, but before we get into it, and looking at the sparse audience that we have, this is going to be easy. I would like a show of hands, please. Which generation each of you lovely audience members identifies with? I'm going to start with the traditionalists, who are also known as the silent generation. And these are people who were born around about 1925 to 1945. And I do that on purpose because my father was born in 1945. He turns 80 this year, and he is still very much an active member of the global workforce. So do we have any traditionalists in the audience? No, I didn't think we would. Baby boomers, 1946 to 1964. Hey, yes, Professor Captain Francis, amazing. I have a feeling we're going to have rather a lot of hands for this one. Gen X, 1965 to 1980? Yeah. Millennials, 1981 to 1996? Okay, hello millennials. Gen Z, 1997 to 2012? Oh, we've got one. Hi. And just in case, because I've seen quite a few very, very young people outside, Gen Alpha, 2010 to 2024. Didn't think so, but they will be joining the workforce in about 5 years' time. So it is important to talk about Gen Alpha as well. So this gives us a general snapshot of who we've got with us today. I would like to start by setting the scene, and I will ask each of my panelists, with the work that you all do, you are all working with different generations, whether it's in the company that you are leading or it's with clients when you are consulting for them. What generational differences do you see are most visible or prevalent? And I know this is going to be a generalization. We'll get into specifics a little bit later. So I would like to start with Kasia, please, and then we'll work our way down.
I will start. So what I can see that different generations, they have different values. And that's what we have to understand to manage them better. So for us, I'm Gen X, yes, but I'm identifying with Gen Z more. Yeah, so I have different value, and work and working was the most important thing in my life. But young generation is looking for that completely in a different way, and that's a matter of values, really values.
I have a feeling you're speaking to Joanna's heart with that. Joanna, what do you see?
Absolutely, I resonate with it completely. I think I'm pretty much Gen X though, but I also have a Gen Z son. So actually, when I'm working with my clients, I do quite a lot of multi-generational workshops to really help understand that difference across the generations in the workplace at the moment. And I think one of the biggest things is, apart from the values, to add on to that is also about their desire to add value quicker. And I think that we're finding in the workplace that, you know, at my generation, we knew we had to work hard and we would take a lot of time to prove ourselves. And now they're saying, when is it happening? I want it tomorrow because I'm already adding value and I need to have purpose.
Professor Captain Francis?
Okay, so I've had the privilege to work with everyone at different levels, including the traditionalists. When I was invited by Mahathir, who was Prime Minister at the age of 94 years old, because of a project. So the traditionalists are simple, they are self-motivated, they don't look for any extrinsic motivation because they already have the money. Okay, so my youngest son is 10 years old. He already has an Ethereum account, now he's 14, because he did NFTs because of his brother, who is a Gen Z, 27 years old, drives a Porsche, has his own house, super smart, and used to be a seafarer like me. So his attitude is very different. He wants extrinsic motivation, he wants to see it now. Then, of course, my daughter is Gen X, and I actually just went to one company in Indonesia to help them with their generational difference. But they only have 3, but I'm dealing with up to 6. So is it difficult? No. But what I do ask is this, and there is a big difference. Not just the multi-generational, but between males and females. So I have an algorithm that helps the company, especially shipping, on a woman who then gets married, have a baby. What can they do in working at home rather than there? And of course, another one that's been asked of me, which I'm not too comfortable with, is the LGBTs. But that's what I'm helping on a global level. So I have lots of interesting things, but I think I'll let the rest share as well. Then I'll leave it there for the questions. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sure we will get to all of that. And I think this is a great segue, actually, to go from you, Captain Francis, to you, Samuel, because through the PMI, I'm guessing you have a very similar scope when it comes to generations that you're working with, over 2,000 people.
Yeah, in the development sector, we are lucky to have everyone working around the table for a single objective, that is serving people. So most of the time you are focusing on delivering value, as she just said, and the donors or people around the partners are really focusing on how to improve the services and how to build the capacities of people to improve the quality of the services. So we have to work on almost everybody, because we observe that volunteering, everyone wants to do it at a certain point of time, and for different reasons. Some, when they use retirement, they want to do it. Some young, they understand they need to do volunteering. But when you are in the same team, we forget about those ages. That is what is very powerful with this sector, is that we forget about our ages. We have old people and young people working collectively. It's true that we have certain differences on the field, but for the development sector and for the intention behind, it's quite a bit difficult to have all those differences when it comes to serve the beneficiaries.
Another beautiful segue, because our last but not least panelist, Ahmed, this for you is very relevant, because you are a senior leader in an organization and you lead other leaders, you lead team leaders. So what do you see?
With all due respect to everybody on the panel, and I do agree with you, Captain, but what I see is motivation is not age driven. And the younger generation, so I've worked with the younger generation and the older generations, all the gens. What I see is the younger generation needs more growth and meaning Okay, and the older generation, on the other hand, needs more clarity and impact. So when I say that, when both of them they work together, it actually brings out different colors. For me, it brings out a whole new perspective uh, when I see and when I work with both the generations. So I wouldn't call that generational difference, but more of a generational collaboration is how I see it. So.
That is a beautiful, beautiful line to take us into our next audience poll. Because what I would like to do, what we would like to do, is see how generational differences are showing up for all of you. I'm going to ask a question. Raise your hands. How often do you experience generational tension at work? And remember, perception is reality. So two people might be experiencing it once a week. For one person, that's a lot. For another, it's not. So there is no right or wrong answer. Please raise your hand if you would say that you frequently experience generational tension at work. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Occasionally. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Rarely. Never. Okay, that there is very interesting. There were no hands that went up for never. Okay, now let's take it a step further. Where do you see the greatest generational differences? You can raise your hand for more than one answer. Communication style. Okay, 4. Work ethic or expectations around, well, oh, and there's a smile there. There's a few smiles. Okay, this one's going to be fun, guys. Okay, use of technology, right? Leadership style, work-life balance, okay? Career progression expectations. This is very interesting. This is going back also to the previous panel on a couple of points. So now I open that up to my panel here. We can see where generational differences are showing up. I'm sure that you've all experienced those with your clients in your own companies. So in your experience, what's the business impact of these kinds of generational differences? If we start, for example, with work ethic and what hard work looks like. Cassia, you start us off?
Yes, I will start that. It's completely different because, as we said at the previous question, previous answers, younger generations that they are not concentrating on hard working. They really want to live, and they really expect work-life balance. So that's important for them. But in the meantime, they are really creative, and if we use right communication with them, we can get really a lot of profits with operating with them together.
This goes back to something that you and I spoke about before, which was what hard work looks like, and something that I've heard from a lot of the younger generations that I work with is, am I being paid to sit in a chair in an office, or am I being paid to actually deliver results? And if I'm being paid to deliver results, what does it matter if I'm sitting at a table or I'm windsurfing? If I'm delivering the results, that's why I'm being paid. So I'll take it now to Joanna.
So
Yes.
I will add one sentence, and that's what older generation doesn't see, because they very often expect paying for time and spending time at work, and they want to deliver results.
Absolutely. That's certainly my mom's view. We'll spend all day on our phones. She thinks we're playing games, when in fact my sisters and I are replying to emails or we're putting presentations together. It just so happens that we do it on a phone, which she associates with playing solitaire. So different perceptions, different reality. Joanna.
Yeah, I sort of resonate with Amit so well on the fact that we want everyone to be able to do it together, that we shouldn't be looking for the differences. And yet it's also it comes back to these values. We're looking at the world from our lens, and it's from our values, and it's from the way that we may have been brought up, or the way we're working, or the culture in the organisation. And it was interesting that you said you're Gen X, but you resonate more with a Gen Z. In the end, it's hard to define people by their generation. It's just that there's these big differences. And I actually say to people, a lot of it is when we're standing in our shoes and looking at the world our way, we define something like ethics, or we define hard work, or we define career path our way. And then we're assuming everybody's going to be doing it the same way as us. And I think one of the things is that definition. You said, oh, we might define even the frequency words differently. And I think that the generations are defining words just differently. And we need to find out what those differences are.
That's beautiful. Professor Captain Francis, what
Okay, I
definitions do you
will
see?
play a bit on negativity. Because
It's always
DBS,
good to have a devil's advocate on a panel.
the DBS Bank Singapore, they retrenched about 50,000 people because they said the banking system can use AI. So many people had to restructure. I created a training program for mid-career changes. But what is important, firstly, is communications. When you have communications, you have understanding, and then respect comes in. So any company that wants me to give them a straight away instant formula, I said no. I require half a day for a company retreat and build games on understanding each other. That is the only way it can. Because when people start to understand. But you're right, the young people want to do it fast. My son, half the time, he's entertaining people, playing golf and all that. But he works very quickly. For me, I'm a mixed generation. I use a lot of technology because I train on AI. But I always tell them AI does the dull, the dangerous, the dirty, and things that human don't do. So your job is safe. So like what I say, I always ask for at least half a day or a full day, and I bring them for games to get to communicate. And then with communication comes understanding and respect. But if you want it to be instantaneous, you put graphs up there, you can't because the different generations. And of course, the other one that is asked of me is between the males and females, the young girls who have yet to get married. So I've created algorithms for that. And of course, the only one that I don't really want to touch is the LGBT. But in reality, if you treat them as norm, it's okay. So don't highlight things and create that sense of, oh, you're this. Then people get a bit worried. So that's on my side. Yeah.
Okay. Samuel, how about you? What's your experience?
Yeah, I really like the idea of not focusing on differences, but on situations, on how the world is moving forward. And it's true that one of the biggest problems, according to me, is that technology and AI is not the main problem, but it's a problem when it's conflicting with cultures. We grown up with different period of time. Some when the system were purely manuals, with hierarchies respected, systems are known. We know who does what, and now we have systems where I can have one software doing everything. I'm just controlling, supervising. I don't need to have procedures to control what I'm doing, etc. So I may want to have a certain environment to, or certain flexibility to do things I want. When for older teams, just stay to what the system wants you to do, and those differences are really for me, or the culture is really for me the key point of how we are now talking about those different generations. Because for me, I appreciate to see other teams trying to learn new things, or new generation trying to understand what other people were facing and how to go about. So it's a matter of navigating into differences and adapting to each period of time you are going through. So yeah, that is what I can say.
Very important, the point about adapting, absolutely. Because the only constant, I mean, you and I were talking about this earlier, the only constant in life is change. So we have to always be adapting. What do you see as business impact?
So the business impact, since we started with work ethics, from a work ethics perspective, I see that everything should be outcome driven. Right? And be it the older generation or the newer generation, what we try to preach inside our company is that everything should be outcome driven. You should respect three things. One is time, one is quality, and the third is respect itself. And what we saw was ideally during the COVID, the whole work ethic actually took a spin because everything, the hierarchy kind of like became flat. And like what Captain said, communication became so important. And that is when I suppose even the AI boom started a lot, because without feeling people inside the same room, we were trying to communicate via technology. And since we were trying to communicate via technology, I saw that a lot of generational difference also kind of like, went down. And we were too close to each other, even though we were in separate rooms. And I saw a lot of companies making good revenue during those times. So if there was a lot of generational differences which was happening, I would have seen a lot of companies go down. Yes, a lot did, and probably they stumbled upon those differences and could not overcome. So my take on the work ethics and the impact is that we should all be outcome driven. Yes, since we have a generational difference, which is by nature natural, we should probably create a playbook. We inside the company have created a playbook. I was talking to you, Lara, around that.
Yes.
So that playbook could enhance the way you are managing people, or people are managing themselves. So,
I will want to come back to that playbook idea because I absolutely loved how you did it.
Can I
There-
add
yes, of
to
course,
that?
of course.
Just add it, just because it sort of links to what I was saying before as well about the definition of words. An example from COVID, the whole thing about well-being and looking after each other and not working 24/7 came about. By the time everyone came back for COVID, people were talking about well-being in a much better way. And yet generations were again interpreting well-being to be different. And I had a major client who was implementing well-being activities, which included we'll have some massages inside the company, and we'll do different events for well-being. And then the younger generation is saying well-being means we get to go home and we get to do our massage ourselves when we want to do it in our own time, and you are not taking our time away. And I think it's so interesting to keep remembering that impact is because people are defining it differently.
You've brought us back to one of the two extremely important points in this discussion, which is about communication. And all of you have mentioned communication in some way. This is the first of a few takeaways that I would like to give our audience. With a client that we've been working with, my business partner and I, for a few years, they wanted to know, could they put a dirham or a dollar figure to communication? And I said, well, yes, you can. And they looked at me like I was crazy because how do you do that? And it's actually quite simple. Research has shown that people spend approximately 2 hours a day engaging in conflict. And whether that is by email, where people are sending emails to each other but not agreeing on something, or whether it's in the pantry or wherever it might be, it's approximately 2 hours per day. Well, okay, so let's consider 2 hours per day per employee. How many employees do you have? 1,000, all right. What is the salary of each of those employees? X amount. Great. So you now know that you can work backwards. You've got an employee who's earning 100,000 dirham a year. You can break that down to an hourly figure. Now, you know that they're spending 2 hours a day, so double that. 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, multiply by 5, and eventually you will get, now multiply that by X number of working days or X number of working weeks in the year, whatever you like, and you now have a dirham or a dollar figure about how much you are actually losing in terms of revenue for people to not communicate, for people to not agree, for people to not be productive. So that's one takeaway that I share with all of you, and you are welcome to do the math for your own organizations as well. The second thing is about what leadership looks like. And this is where we can go into the first, say, traditional way of exploring generational differences, which is with older people leading younger people. One of the points that the previous panel made was around AI. And Joanna, I believe that you and I were talking about this. We, as Gen X, even millennials, are panicking for the younger generations because of all the jobs that AI is going to take away. They are not panicking because they have never worked a traditional 9-to-5 job that is being taken away from them. They are growing up and they will be working in a space where it is normal for AI to be doing certain jobs. So this is a huge difference in how people are viewing technology when it comes to running a business and to leadership. So looking at older generations leading younger generations, what challenges do your older generation leaders tell you they're facing when it comes to leading younger generations? You know what, Amit, I'd like to start with you because I'd like you to tell us a bit more of that playbook.
So I'll start with an example. We, as even Gen X, we always used to instruct the younger generation, right? Inside the company, organizations, I've seen older generations, if they are managers, leaders, they would lay down certain instructions. Instead, so that was even what I used to do. But in contrast to what I changed myself in doing was, I kind of like involved. So instead of telling a younger generation employee that you need to do this, I laid down the problem. What do you think? How would you solve this? Now, this is something that I always used to ask a leader. I never used to ask a younger generation employee. But when I did that, and when I started doing that, I saw so many perspectives. As in, I saw so many young boys and girls solve things on their own itself. And that changed a lot of my perspective. And that actually led me to talk to my HR and create that playbook, that it is, we don't have to be stereotyped. You know, we need to continuously evolve. We were talking about evolution, right? And that is how we need to evolve, by creating a playbook, because, and that playbook also needs to keep evolving, because ideally I don't see generations reacting the same way that they used to. Probably when we were that age, we used to react very differently. And today we react very differently. How they react today, probably the same generation 10 years down the line will react very differently. So I saw that the key was involvement. They want to be involved, and everybody wants to be involved. From the senior generation, what I saw was respect. If there is a younger manager managing an older employee, instead of involving his or her colleague at a later stage, he or she needs to involve him or her at an early stage. Take the value from that experience that they hold, and then go on to the matter. So what we created, the crux of the playbook was create an SME, club them with a digital expert who's from the younger generation, and see how they evolve. And it did wonders for us.
I'm sure it did, because it sounds like you are giving each generation exactly what they value, going back to what Cassia and Joanna started us off with, what people value. Samuel, I'd like to come to you next, because the point that Amit made about evolution and about shifting, that's, I mean, project management, that is a process, but it's a process that has to evolve because things happen. And managing projects is one of the very few, actually at this moment, it's the only thing I can think of where you are planning for change, which sounds like a bit of an oxymoron, but that's actually what you're doing. So what does evolution look like in your experience with different generations working together, and maybe with younger generations leading older generations instead of vice versa?
Yeah, I like the word involvement, because when we talk about how older teams are seeing younger teams, it's like um, younger teams really want to go to be involved, but sometimes they want to go very very quickly. They want everything to come now. They want their promotion to be like next year. Yes.
Yesterday.
They want everything. They just keep they're negotiating the biggest salary, even if they didn't really provide any proof of experience or stuff like that. So they are really impatient. They really want to have everything now. And unfortunately, sometimes it goes with the amount of errors they can do in their jobs, especially for those who are not focused, for those who are not concentrated in what they are doing. So it might be confusing on the kind of talent you are seeing and the kind of results that the talent is producing. And unfortunately, again, that's leading to a lack of confidence from the senior person and the younger person. So that's part of the of what teams, it looks like my mic, older teams can see from younger teams, but younger teams as well are like, okay, maybe that older person is too hierarchical, um, too many procedures. I want this at that time. I want this way. I want this. I want it. Oh, I'm going to finish with that. I remember one story, one feedback I received from a younger person, from a senior person during COVID, because she talked about COVID, so the thing came to my mind. During COVID, that younger person has, thank you, that younger person had a older supervisor that was calling her every 10 minutes to know what she was doing. Are you working?
That's a lot, even for me.
Are you working? What are you doing? I just gave it a task. Where are you with that? But you understand that the older person was not ready for teleworking. And that goes along with adapting to the era. We call it in project management the business acumen. How you move with your environment, how you improve, how you understand the need to continue to progress, to train yourself, to avoid this kind of conflicting moments. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Captain Francis.
Okay, for me, it's very simple. If we talk about hierarchy, I was an ex-captain before, right? So they always say the captain is the old man of the sea. But in my second command, I was 30 years old. I took over from a Danish captain who was 60 years old, double my age. But the funny thing is, when you look at the crew list, the second officer is my batchmate, happened to be older than me. My cadet officer is older than me. I was the youngest person on board, but I was the captain of the ship. So what does age matter? It doesn't matter. But because I know my job, they have to follow me, right? But it's more than that, because when I was sailing, we had many Indians who were our officers. So they would tell me, my chief officer would say, "Oh boy, you must understand. Captain is man who knows everything. I, chief officer, know many things. You cadets know nothing." So people try to use that age gap, but they cannot. So for me, I would say, no, it doesn't matter. It's attitude. So when I had an exercise with one of the companies that called me, I created the exercise, and many of them told me align with purpose rather than behavior. And I was shocked. Then I asked them to show me. I found out they got it from ChatGPT. I straight away told their director and their CEO, wrong. Behavior is the most important, and I trademarked and created behavioral competency. Because I say technical competency, you can train anyone to do a job. But in order for multi-generational people to work together, you need to build behavioral competency. So I started to write something called asset intelligence, where AI won't take over and the human is an asset. The most important is not IQ or EQ. It's AQ, adversity quotient. When you fall, how strong and tough are you? The resilience to climb even higher. Second one is social quotient. Because the internet, the many newbies, they tend to look at the internet and find things there. And many forget to do face-to-face. So I build on that. Then, of course, emotional quotient based on cultural. Because I do different countries when I train the companies. And the last one, of course, very important, technology quotient. But because I wanted to spell the word asset correctly, I had to add the word S. So I thought about it and it came to my mind. Success quotient. Look at the glass being half full rather than half empty. That the grass may not be greener on the other side, and understand. So again, we talk about communications, and when you use the word older, it depends. There are young people who want to quickly grow old, and older people, when like my mom celebrating 85th birthday, but we say 85 years young, and she still stays on her own in her own condominium. So what I'm saying is, behavioral competency based on asset intelligence is something I created, and 2 governments have already employed me. So I got to work for the next 10 years. But I don't want to work for 10 years, I've got more than enough money. So I pulled my son in, being a Gen Z, he's going to manage a lot of it. Because I told him, son, there'll be $10 million for you. He said, no, Dad, we will make at least 100 million. So money is still a motivation for him. But for me, because I made my money, it doesn't matter. I just enjoy myself. But what I'm saying is behavioral competency, and I felt that ChatGPT AI is saying align with purpose, not with behavior, and people work together. I thoroughly disagree. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanna, this is something that is very close to your heart as well, because you've got your dad and your son, different generations, both of them involved in tech. What's that like? What do you see?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I was telling the panel the story about the fact that my dad is 87, and he actually was a founder of one of the first computers, and they actually used to have rooms with all of the technology as they were building the computers. And he said, I was part of the start of computers. And he said, I had to be ready to watch it evolve and watch it evolve into how do they become useful to a consumer. Now, my son is 25 and he's joined a company where they're building robots. And my dad actually said to me, it's so interesting watching my grandson starting a new technology, and it's not going to be usable yet, but he's starting it, and hopefully he's got the wisdom to watch it evolve into something usable. And it was really impressive for me to sort of listen to my dad have that much insight at the age of 87. However, he's also a traditionalist, and he still gives me advice on personal life, which is rather old-fashioned from my perspective. And my son will give me advice that I sort of listen to sometimes of, seriously, you're going to leave the organization because you're not learning enough? Come on, you've only been there 8 months. He's like, yep, but I've reached the ceiling of how much they can teach me. So although there's this amazing mindset of ready to grow, ready to build something new for the world, which is the purpose, there is still some complete differences on the way they're viewing the world from the different values that we talked about. And I'd just like to share one other story that maybe resonates too, because it's a word that hasn't been used yet by any of us, and I disagree with the word, but I thought it was such a lovely moment in one of my workshops. Gen Z comes up to me and she said, I hear from my managers all the time that Gen Z is entitled. And she said, and I'm feeling really uncomfortable with this word entitled. Why do the older generation always say that we are entitled? And I said to her, okay, so you've arrived, how long have you been in the workplace? She goes, 6 months. And I said, and how's it going? What do you want from being here? And she says, oh, I want to change the world. I've got so many ideas, but nobody's listening to me. And I could do more. I really could do more. And I said, and when do you want that more? And she said, well, as soon as possible. In fact, by the end of the year, and I have my performance review, I hope I'm going to be promoted. And I said, and the older generation worked for years and years before they would get to that promotion, and therefore they think you're entitled. And it comes back to those words again of how are people interpreting them. And we have to be so careful as leaders, because she didn't understand and she didn't know what her leader was talking about. But the leader is frustrated because she wants too much too soon. And it's going to always come back to communicate, understand each other, work it out.
I think someone who's got the answer to that is Cassia, because when we were having our pre-panel discussion, Cassia shared with me something that I believe will make a lot of people quite jealous out here. Her kids' friends actually enjoy spending time with her, and they want to ask her advice, and they want her to tell them what to do, how to do it. So Cassia, please, the magic, share with us.
Yeah, I didn't know that you bring that topic, that my experience. Yes, that's right. My children are 21 and 23, and they really bring a lot of their friends to our house, and we spend time together, and we are really friends, you know. They ask me, oh, can you join us at the party, or can you go with us to drink coffee, or just to talk, to spend time together? And I say, yes, really, me. And you know where the secret is? I was thinking about that. I'm listening to them, and I'm asking them questions. So I think that from the leadership perspective, we have to learn new tools how to communicate with them. And the two new tools, which are very, very important, according to me, is active listening and coaching, however we call it, asking questions. So if you really understand what they want, and you ask them, and you ask them what they want to achieve. I experienced that what Joanna says, that they are impatient, they want results immediately, they want to change world. But if you listen to that and try to convert that into values which leading your company or your family or whatever relationship to results you want to, you will win.
It seems that we've got consensus on the panel, as well as from the audience, from the hand-raising exercise a little while ago, that communication underpins everything. And active listening is part of communication. People can tell when we're not listening to them. People can tell when they've lost us, even if we're nodding our heads and saying, even if it's over the phone, it's felt, even if it's not seen. So with the 3 minutes and 15 seconds that we have left, I will ask my panel to please share with our audience practical actions or initiatives that they can take that will support building healthy communication with their colleagues or even with their kids, for those who've got kids who are a lot younger than we are. Ahmed, may I start with you?
So I suppose we should, if we are talking about organizations and companies, we should create these mentor-mentee groups wherein we should not restrict it to age. We should restrict it to outcomes and skills. There would be groups where you would have the mentors of older generations, mentees of younger generations. There would be groups where mentors are younger generations and mentees are older generations. And respect is something that should be inculcated inside, because older generations look for respect and then they are ready to learn. They are ready to move as fast as possible. My take is on that.
Thank you very much. And certainly one thing that I've seen is that younger generations are a lot more comfortable with instability and risk than we are. And so that could be a topic for them to mentor older generations, how to be comfortable with risk and instability.
So what I see is younger generations need rapid feedback, so that word of impatience, impatience that we see among younger generations can be converted into, communicated, well communication, and I suppose that would mean a lot to them. So rapid feedback, that is what they need.
Thank you, Amit.
That resonates with me very much. So, yeah, be curious, ask questions, and be curious how they want to change the world, because maybe you can use these ideas to change your world and to change your company, your relationship. So that's my takeaway.
Be curious. Beautiful takeaway. Thank you. Simon.
Okay, if I can suggest two things, technology and all you were saying about instability and risk is increasing issues with mental health and psychological safety. So I will advise people to work on their emotional intelligence. And on the other side, maybe to move to avoid these people or generation issues at the system level, at the organizational level, we can work on strengthening the policies so people will understand that um, the, the, the way the organization function is really a system based. It's not someone who decide that I don't want to give you that promotion. I don't want you to give that. As soon as the systems are clear, people are fine. This is my thing.
Okay, so for me, looking at things, I sort of create a awareness of your surrounding, and I call it the emotional and social psychology of understanding your surroundings. But coming to what they've said, the young people want to quickly get promotions and move fast. They want it tomorrow. She says yesterday. True. My daughter, she is just hit now 28, right? So she got a double promotion in a very good company. She thought everyone congratulated her. Then she made a mistake, but she dare not tell me. Her fiance called me and said, Uncle, this has happened. Straight away, I called my daughter and said, Daddy is here, baby boomers, we have the answers. So I told her, firstly, send the email to everyone, since this person who is jealous of your double promotion has sent this mistake you've done. First, send to everyone. Let's not blame human error. What we need to do is look at our SOPs and readjust it, and then show them what the company can do to improve. And within a few hours, she was very happy about it. And I didn't even see her face to face. Then within 6 months, she had another call from another company, Chinese company, which is very scared, but huge promotion, huge salary increment. I told her, be careful, this Chinese company has money, but ethics may be different. But try it out. Don't burn bridges with the current company. Take this new promotion and this high salary. And if it doesn't work well, you go ahead. But if it does, you'll have 12, 24, 36 months promotion. So that's how I help the Gen X, Gen Y, and show them how to do it and create simple ways. But I don't tell them. I show them and I suggest, because they want to be their own strength, but they actually need to lean on you. So that's what I've learned, not just from my kids, but I've been teaching for more than 26 years, and I do career advice, so I know about situations, and that helps me, though I have no psychology degree. But that's what I would say. When you communicate, and remember, you need multi-generational, because the older ones can be the rock and foundation to stabilize the ship. The younger ones, let them run faster, it's okay. When they trip and fall, we are behind to pick them up. That's how we do things. Thank you.
It's a very beautiful point that the older generations, and this is something that my mom used to say to us all the time, "العمر له حق." Age has its value. And older generations, we have the experience of the past that allows us to support in the present. Younger generations are experiencing the present, and they can help the older generations look at what a potential future is based on those experiences that they're having. Joanna?
Yes, and I know we're out of time, so I guess I just would summarize what's really been said here is, remember, we all have had an issue with two generations above us, and they've had issues with us, because we all do it a bit differently as every generation comes in. And if you can be curious, collaborate, have that safe space where they feel they can speak up, be heard, give them feedback, help them, be behind them, supporting them, so that they know that they can run. And actually, you'll get so much more out of all of the generations working collaboratively together.
Thank you very, very much. That is a beautiful send-off. Great reminders for our audience. Thank you very much for your attention. I would like to invite questions, but I don't want to hold up the other panels. So please come and find us if you have any questions for us now that the panel has ended. Thank you.